Good afternoon and welcome to the meeting of the Strategic Planning Committee. The first item on the agenda is election of chair. Can I ask for nominations for chair for the meeting, please?
Can I move Councillor Sheikh Ullah, please?
Councillor Ullah is
I would second that.
seconded. Can we take a vote on that, please, by show of hands? That's agreed. Thank you, Councillor Ullah.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee meeting. Item number 2, then, membership of the committee.
I'm aware of apologies from Councillor Homewood and Councillor Armour, Chair.
I'm just replacing James R.
Yeah, and you're attending in place of Councillor Homewood.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. A mover and a seconder, please. Thank you. Item number 4, then, declarations of interest and lobbying.
None, Chair.
None, Chair.
None, Chair.
None, Chair.
And none from me. Item number 5, admission of the public. Don't think there's any items that we'd have to go into a private session for. Item number 6, public questions.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Item number 7, deputations and petitions.
No deputations or petitions, Chair.
Okay, items number 9 and 10 are the site visits, and I can confirm that we've attended both site visits this morning. Okay, then the first application is page number 13. That's the application at Grange Moor.
Thank you, Chair. Fazana Tabassum, Case Officer for this application. I'll just share the slides. Apologies. Oh.
Click on that one.
Apologies. The application red line relates to an area of 7.2 hectares of land located to the west of the A63 Barnsley Road and approximately 100 metres to the south of Grangemore roundabout. 2 businesses are currently operating from the site. These are Grangemore Coachworks and Holgate Construction Limited. The application is submitted by PCS specialists who currently operate from a building on the priority employment area allocation situated approximately 150 metres to the northeast of the application site. The site lies in an area of greenbelt as identified in the green on this slide. The site is distinguished mainly in 2 parts as can be seen on this aerial view. The northern part accommodating the existing buildings with land immediately to the south and west of the buildings being used primarily for the storage of plant and machinery including scrap vehicles. The southern part of the site consists of open fields where an overspill of the scrapyard has taken place, mainly in the southwestern part of the site. There is a small wooded area in the central part of this site and what also appears to be a small attenuation pond in the corner of the site. There are soft landscape features, hedgerows adjacent to the east, west and southern boundaries, which are largely outside the application red line. These are a couple of photos looking at the site from Barnsley Road, the top one of which is looking down from the north with the application site on the right-hand side, and the photo below looking back up Barnsley Road. The proposals are as per the amended description and shown on this block plan, which includes demolition of the existing buildings, erection and operation of a building comprising a sui generis land use, limited to the purpose of storage, assembly, sale and distribution of custom-built computers, laptops and their components, and associated development including utility provision, drainage, access, parking, hard soft landscaping and the replacement wind turbine in the same location as the existing wind turbine, situated here in the southwest part of the site. Remedial works would include the removal of all external storage of vehicles, plants and machinery, followed by restoration with soft landscaping, including the planting of new hedgerows to the boundaries which will be shown on the detailed boundary treatment and landscape plans further in the presentation. This is a closer look at the site layout, showing the proposals to be confined largely within the northern part of the site. From this you can see the two vehicle access points onto Barnsley Road, parking arrangements to accommodate 274 car park spaces to the east and south of the building, and a functional service yard including a waste handling zone north of the building, a covered bike store and two new substation buildings in the southeast corner of the car park. The proposals will include the installation of solar panels and plant including air source heat pumps on the roof of the building. This slide shows the floor plans of the building, which will have a large warehouse designed to accommodate manufacturing, assembly and testing in the large open areas, with all ancillary areas as listed in paragraph 3.3 of the committee report within the northeast part of the building. This is the roof plan, which basically shows the solar panels, plant including air conditioning units and kitchen extraction. These are the elevations for the proposed building. As can be seen, of most interest is the eastern elevation at the top there, which will be fronting onto Barnsley Road, consisting of large glazed areas with black and grey composite cladding. A variety of boundary treatments are proposed, including new hedgerows to the east, south and western boundaries to the southern part of the site, a 1.2 metre high timber post and rail fence to the south and western edge of the car park area, a 2.4 metre high black anti-climb fence with electrification around the building, which is shown by the red line. A retaining wall is required to the north and western boundary as indicated by the light blue line. This is a proposed landscape plan giving an indication of how the site will look following remediation and completion of the soft hard landscaping proposals. This slide shows the highway improvements into the site and within the adjacent highway, which my highway colleague will expand on. The following slides include an aerial view of how the site exists and a visual view of how the site will look on completion of the proposals. This is how it looks currently, and this is how it will look on completion. A total of 11 objections and 2 representations in support are received. Ward members were notified. Comments received from Councillor Armour are included in paragraph 7.5 of the committee report. The proposals represent a significant departure from the local plan. As such, in accordance with the delegation agreement, the application is brought to committee for determination by members. With regards to principle of development, the construction of new buildings in the Greenbelt is an inappropriate development, except for a small number of exceptions, none of which apply to this proposal and should not be approved except in very special circumstances. The applicant has set out in their submission document 6 very special circumstances which they contend outweighs the harm that will be caused to the Greenbelt. In brief, the very special circumstances relate to the need for new employment land, lack of preferable alternative sites to meet this need, the positive local socio-economic effects of the site and proposals, the previously developed nature of the site, the visual improvements to a site that would otherwise not be cleared up, and clearance of contaminated land. These are listed in paragraph 10.4 of the report, followed by officers' detailed assessment of each of the very special circumstances. It should also be noted that during the course of the application, the applicant was required to provide detailed information and evidence to substantiate the very special circumstances put forward. To summarise, of the 6 very special circumstances put forward by the applicant, based on the evidence and information provided, it is considered 3 of the very special circumstances carry weight. These are 1, the need for new employment land, 2, lack of the preferable sites to meet the applicant's needs, and 3, the positive local socio-economic effects of the site and proposals. In this case, in weighing up the planning balance, the proposals would allow this existing business to invest, expand and adapt in its current location, enabling its continued growth and meet its operational requirements as well as secure local employment. Substantial weight is given to these very special circumstances in which the opinion of officers is considered to outweigh the significant recognised harm by reason of inappropriateness and the other recognised harm that would occur from the proposed development. Moving on to all other material considerations. With respect to design and layout, the development will largely be contained and confined to the northern part of the application site, with a car park encroaching into the central part of the site. The remainder of the site beyond the car park is shown to be reinstated back into a field with low-level soft landscaping. The building will be typical of industrial units, with the eastern front elevation being of most interest. The scale and height of the building has been set by the operational functional requirements to meet the demands of the business over a 10-year forecast prediction. Other building structures proposed within the site are 2 small electric substations shown to be sited in the southeast corner of the car park. The proposals, together with the replacement of the existing wind turbine of the same scale and in the same siting as the existing with a more efficient model, are considered acceptable in the proposed layout and design. Turning to landscape, trees and biodiversity matters, landscape and remediation of the contaminated part of the site is to be addressed by pre-commencement conditions, excluding demolition and intrusive site investigations. A condition will be necessary for tree protection fencing to be provided to the 2 significant tree areas within the southern part of the site, as identified in the submitted arboricultural impact assessment. With respect to biodiversity, on the whole, the proposals will have no impact on the ecological habitats. A significant level of biodiversity net gain is likely to be achieved. However, a recalculation is needed to take account of the proposed new hedgerow planting. This can be addressed by condition. Turning to residential amenity, a terrace of houses at numbers 44 to 62 Wakefield Road lies north of the site with a distance of approximately 35 metres to the site boundary. This is the nearest noise-sensitive receptor. Other noise-sensitive receptors include 1 Barnsley Road, located approximately 300 metres southeast of the proposed building, and 2, 4 and 8 Liley Lane, approximately 500 metres north of the proposed building. The impact on the amenities of these noise-sensitive properties has been considered in the revised noise impact assessment. The noise impact assessment recommends a number of mitigation measures as set out in paragraph 10.70 of the committee report. Subject to these being conditioned, environmental health officers are satisfied the proposals would not be harmful to the living conditions of existing nearby noise-sensitive properties, and it would therefore comply with the relevant objectives of the local plan policies LP24 and LP52, as well as guidance in the MPPF. With respect to other matters, there are no concerns in terms of surface water drainage flooding, subject to the local lead flood authority and Yorkshire water conditions. This is not an air quality management area, and the proposals as revised would include the provision of electric vehicle charging points. With regard to external lighting, the submission documents include an external lighting strategy. However, no other detailed information relating to the external lighting measures that will be taken to minimise or eliminate glare and stray light has been provided. Therefore, a condition requiring a detailed lighting scheme will be necessary. The Coal Authority revised its recommendation to no further measures required and confirms that it has no objections to the proposed development and suggested no conditions on assessment of the Phase 2 Geo-Environmental and Mining Report. If I can now pass you on to my Highways colleague before concluding.
Thank you, Fazana. From a highways perspective, the site is accessed from Barnsley Road. That will be accessed by two new points of access, which we saw this morning when we were out on site. There's a northern and southern access. The southern of those access will be an all movements access, which will be used for cars, staff and visitors, but also for service vehicles to enter the site. The northernmost access, which is one nearer the roundabout, will be for service vehicles to exit the site only. So they will circulate, there's a circulating route round the site for service vehicles, and they will exit via the northern access. Now that access is designed so they must turn left out of there. There's a physical island in the road, and the radius is so you can turn left but you can't turn right. That is because heading towards Flockton there is a 7.5 tonne weight restriction, so that means that vehicles exiting must turn left towards Grangemore roundabout. The southern access is an all movements one, but that will only be used by lighter vehicles, and that includes a right turn lane. Due to the category of Barnsley Road, that all these are designed to DMRB standards, and they have been road safety audited and are considered acceptable. The proposals also include a package of highway improvement measures, primarily the Grangemore roundabout itself, where there has been a history of some accidents, particularly ones involving cyclists, and the improvements effectively involve making the roundabout more in simplistic terms, making the roundabout more compact, reducing the approach widths, reducing the angles on the approach radii, to try to slow vehicles approaching and circulating on the roundabout. In doing this has created additional space where we've been able to create pedestrian and cycle links and provide crossing points on all arms of that roundabout where there currently are none, and that provides pedestrian and cycle links from the site to that roundabout and through it. So cyclists and pedestrians can now cross every arm of that roundabout and make the bus stops which are on there. The improvements also include that necessitates relocation of one of the bus stops, which will get a new shelter, and we're also proposing real-time bus information at the two stops on Wakefield Road, westbound approach. The proposals include a travel plan to encourage more sustainable modes. From a parking provision, it provides 274 parking spaces. That has been assessed and based on modal splits and the future 10-year prediction for the growth of the business. That will be acceptable. It will provide adequate parking so that all parking can be accommodated on site, will not spill over onto Barnsley Road, which would be unacceptable. From a traffic impact assessment point of view, because it's a relocation of an existing business, we have been able to use a sort of first principles approach using travel surveys and trip rates from their existing business. These have been assessed, growthed up and assessed based on design years of 2029 and 34, so hence 5 and 10 year future year design years. That demonstrates that the site accesses and the roundabout both operate within capacity in that time. So from a traffic impact point of view, highways are satisfied. I think it's sort of summing up, access, parking, servicing and traffic impact are all deemed to be acceptable, subject to conditions and the proposed highway improvement works. Thank you.
To conclude, the proposals are recommended for approval subject to the 38 conditions within the report and securing a section 106 for the following obligations. Bus stop contribution of 34,000 to secure real-time displays at 2 bus stops located on Wakefield Road and 1 to provide a replacement bus shelter. 2, travel plan monitoring fee of 15,000 and skills and education plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Fazana. Thanks, Chris. So the first speaker is on behalf of the agent, Hamish Gledhill. Good afternoon, Mr Gledhill. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm Hamish Gledhill, representing the applicant on this planning application. This is not a speculative development by a developer. It's an application by a local company that has a real need for these premises. This is a real Kirklees success story, as PCS is a local firm run by a local businessman who established the company over 20 years ago, and it now employs over 250 staff. It has a strong foothold in overseas markets, which paves the way for significant growth. The only constraint against growth is the size of their premises. The applicant, with the help from the Council's inward investment team, has spent over 4 years trying to find new premises, but the reasons set out in the report show how they've been unsuccessful. Please understand that this option of submitting a new planning application and a new building is not ideal for the applicant. It really is their last resort. It is costly in time and money, as well as risky, and the applicant would have welcomed another viable and suitable option. However, before you today is a scheme that Kirklees can be proud of. It is a large building, but the design team has worked hard to ensure it has minimal visual impact, and the light grey cladding will blend into the skyline from afar. When close by, the striking geometric features will set this building apart from more generic sheds. The textured cladding creates visual interest, and the contemporary features complement the high-tech company houses. The innovative design, paired with a package of renewable energy sources, show the commitment by the applicant to invest in Kirklees and to a low-carbon future. The site has become an eyesore, and as set out in the report, there is a long planning and enforcement history for this site. For absolute clarity, please understand that the degradation of this site has nothing to do with the applicant. However, the proposed development will be a catalyst in the restoration of this site, which has been an eyesore for so many years. This has been a complex planning application addressing the difficult technical issues highlighted in the report. A major issue has been highway safety, but Kirklees Highways agree that the scheme offers substantial highway improvements, not least because of the major improvements to the Grangemore roundabout. Kirklees planning officers agree that the lack of available sites and premises, the applicant's need for new premises, and the socio-economic benefits the development will bring comprise very special circumstances, which justify the proposed development in the Greenbelt. We commend the officer's report, which provides a thorough assessment of this planning application, and we hope you will follow the officer's recommendation and approve this planning application. Both myself and my colleague James will respond to any questions you may have on the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Gledhill. We'll move to the debate. Councillor Pinnock and then Councillor Sokol.
Thank you, Chair. This is a very interesting site. Now, I've been on planning committees for quite a long time, specifically heavy woolen planning over many years, and this site featured quite regularly in site visits. So we got trips past this site on numerous occasions. So I am very familiar with it and its problems. Now, it's very interesting that when Fazana listed, and they are listed on, I think it was it page 24, the reasons that one need to go into when considering whether you should allow a building in the Greenbelt. It's interesting that she mentioned 3, but the one that wasn't, well, one of the ones that wasn't mentioned was the fact that the site is an eyesore. Now, I would never use that as an argument for doing something, simply because there are all sorts of reasons for why things are eyesores. But eyesore it is, and one might be a bit worried about leaning too much on that aspect of this site in order to get to where we can see on the future design for the site, which is great. It's absolutely wonderful, but it's in the Greenbelt. And normally we wouldn't allow such things, except for the special circumstances that were mentioned. And all of those, to my way of thinking, are extremely valid. It will have the additional benefit of getting rid of an eyesore, but that isn't the main reason for doing it. I think I should emphasise that. The story of the success of this company is absolutely brilliant, and their need for larger premises is fantastic for the future of their business and business in general in Kirklees. I suppose I have to be slightly concerned, and I don't know that there's an easy answer to this, trying to get more people who work there to use public transport. There are some incentives in the permission, I accept that, but because we've got a public transport system that is broken in so many respects, one can't place 100% reliance on doing something about that. But it is necessary in this case because the site is relatively isolated from other, from areas of population and so on. So that's all coming round to saying that despite the stuff about inappropriate development in the Greenbelt, there are enough extenuating circumstances in this case, to my mind, and I would like to move the officer's recommendation in this case and wish the company every good fortune in their future development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pinnock. It's been moved. Councillor Sokol.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we all been on the site visit this morning, and we seen the existing business over there. It looks very messy on the main road. Yeah, I know it's still business over there, that kind. But I wouldn't like to lose this big business in Kirklees. I've seen quite few business be lost because we could not provide the possible site for those business, and they moved out from and they gone to neighboring authority. This is a big opportunity to keep this investment in Kirklees Council, Chair. I read the report. I think applicant has tried and considered some other sites, but he could not find any good site which can meet the company's requirement in terms of employment, the jobs, and creating some more jobs. He already got some 200 jobs. He will create many more on this one. The company has proposed the two access, as was said, by the highway, which will improve the access to this company. At the moment, is a very messy access. And the investment, section 106 contribution regarding 2 bus stops and the travel plan and the employment and skill agreement. That's good contribution offered by the company. There are the big car park spaces, I think, yeah, and car park expenses and the other thing. So on these things, as Councillor Pinnock have said, he welcomed the application because it's a big investment there, creating more than 250 jobs and improve the access on the road, and they are putting some contribution to improve the nearby roundabout, better facility for active walk and the cycling. Yes. Chair, I'm happy to second the application.
Thank you, Councillor Sokol. So the application has been moved and seconded. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions, just for my own personal curiosity. One is the contribution. We're talking about, I think it's 34,000 for bus stop upgrades. I just wondered if we knew what the bus routes were like on there. Are they every 10 minutes? Are they every hour? Isn't there any, like there is in a lot of areas? So is it just a waste of money doing bus stop upgrades if there's no bus route? The other is, I'm not familiar with the road onto the motorway from here. Is it dual carriageway? Is it single carriageway? Because the additional traffic on there, is it got to cause a problem? And the next question is, the mess that it's in at the moment, how come we as a council allow Greenbelt to get in such a state, and is it a viable excuse that they're now going to tidy the mess up, that we should be just putting a tin shed there? So it's just a few questions for clarity, please.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Chris, do you want to take?
Yeah, I can pick up the bus service and the routes around there. The bus service is not a fantastic one. The one on Wakefield Road, where we're getting the improvements, is an hourly service. The shift patterns are being arranged so that the buses will be a viable option, and they do run late enough in the evening to pick up certainly the office people that will be working there. But it's an existing service. These improvements we're getting are to existing bus stops that are there. I think that the shelter needs to be done because we're relocating. As part of the highway works, it needs to be relocated, so we're getting a new shelter. Whether it already is a shelter, we're replacing it with a new one. The real-time bus information, again, given that the frequency of the service isn't maybe 15 minutes, that helps people plan, because when they arrive there, they know when the bus is actually coming in real time, not what they, if it's running early, if it's running late, they're aware of when they go, what they're doing. So I think it will help. We've consulted WICA. They've sort of requested these sort of improvements to that service. As far as the roads go around there, yes, they are A classified roads. They're not dual carriageways. They are single carriageway roads, but they are of an A standard. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Fazana, the contributions, and then I think it was the state of the Greenbelt. Why we let it go?
Yes, through your chair, this site does have a very complex history of enforcement on this site, and I agree, and as stated in the officer's report, 3 of the very special circumstances put forward, i.e. the previously developed nature of the site, the visual improvements to a site that would otherwise not be cleared up, and the clearance of the contaminated land, those very special circumstances attach very limited weight, if any, and that's set out why in the report. So it's the first 3 very special circumstances that I referred to in my presentation, why officers consider that it outweighs the harm to the Greenbelt.
Thank you, Fazana. Any further comments from the committee? So we've had a mover and a seconder for approval of the officer's recommendation. Just before we go to the vote now, Mohan and Andrew have moved and seconded it. I would also like to pass my personal thanks on to our highways team and all the extensive work that they've done behind the scenes to get something which is kind of like a workable scheme in front of us today. So Chris, if you can convey my thanks on to Adam and yourself as well. Thank you, Sheila.
So you're voting on approval of the application subject to the 38 conditions set out in the report and a section 106 agreement. Councillor Sokol?
For.
Councillor Anwar?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
Councillor Thompson?
Against.
Councillor Ulla?
For.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you. Okay then, members, the next application, page 61, change of use.
Thank you, Chair. Victor Grayson, Majors and Minerals team. This is item 12 on the agenda today. It's an application for a change of use of an egg production unit to research and development use or industrial use, along with associated elevational alterations and provision of access, gates, a forecourt, parking areas and landscaping at Bradley Villa Farm. Councillor Homewood, as ward member for Ashbrow Ward, asked for the application to be brought to committee. Councillor Homewood could not attend today, and Councillor Amin, also of Ashbrow Ward, will be speaking regarding the application. This location plan shows the application site outlined in red here. The blue outline denotes other land within the applicant's ownership. This plan also shows that access to the application site is available via the adjacent farmyard to the south and is also usually available from Bradford Road via the existing track to the west. That access from Bradford Road is currently unavailable, while the spine road to serve the adjacent residential development is under construction. The application site forms part of the wider HS11 site allocation, shown in orange here. This is a housing allocation expected to deliver 1,460 homes during the local plan period. Members can see here that the site allocation also includes all of the farmyard and the farm shop at Bradley Villa Farm. And I've marked on there where the current application site is. You can just about make out the rectangle within the orange that is the existing building on the application site. Members will recall that the council previously granted planning permission for a 277 unit residential development in the western part of the allocated site. That's shown with brown shading in this slide, and that covers about a fifth of the site allocation, as well as an area of greenbelt to the north. Redrow Homes are now implementing that permission. And this is that 277 unit development that has been granted planning permission. Members can see here that it includes, or is to include, an east-west spine road running from the Bradford Road site entrance at the eastern edge of the site allocation the western edge of the site allocation to its eastern edge of the application site where it meets Shepherd's Thorn Lane. The current application site that's being considered today is shown in red, outlined in red here, and it does include part of the Redrow site, namely the site entrance off Bradford Road and a short stretch of where the forthcoming spine road would be. That spine road is to run immediately to the north of the current application site. This layout, members, is probably also useful in that it helps illustrate what kind of number of dwellings could be provided at the current application site were it to be developed for housing. And then in this aerial view, you can see more clearly the existing building within the application site. This was most recently used as an egg production facility, but it is currently vacant. Again, the buildings of Bradley Villa Farm can be seen to the south of the application site, and members, you can also see the existing residential properties on Bradford Road to the west. This is an extract from one of Redrow Homes' odour reports submitted under their application a couple of years ago. It illustrates the extent of the odour constraint created by the egg production activity that was previously carried out at the application site. The grey cloud illustrates the area where, according to Redrow's consultant, the odour would have been of such significance to cause a nuisance and an unacceptable amenity impact. To address this constraint and to enable the Redrow development to go ahead, Redrow negotiated with the owner of Bradley Villa Farm, who is also the current applicant, and secured the cessation of the odorous egg production activity at what is currently the application site. And of course, that cessation of activity left the owner of Bradley Villa Farm with an empty building. Of note, Redrow considered it necessary to only secure the cessation of egg production. No other agricultural activities at Bradley Villa Farm were ceased as a result of negotiations between the farm and Redrow. And this is that existing, now empty building, as seen during the site visit today. The upper image is a view of the north elevation of the building, viewed from the Redrow site. And we also see here images of the east and west elevations. It's a metal-clad building. It has a rectangular footprint, 52.5 metres by 28.3 metres, with an eaves height of 6 metres. And the proposal is to convert this building to research and development or industrial use. Regarding that proposed industrial use, the applicant has clarified that this would be the Class EG3 industrial use, usually referred to as light industrial, which by definition is a use which can be carried out in any residential area without detriment to the amenity of that area by reason of noise, vibration, smells, fumes, smoke, soot, ash, dust or grit. And the proposal is to divide the building into 4 units, 2 of 402 square metres and 2 of 322 square metres, as you can see in the plan on the bottom right of this slide. The building's massing would be largely unchanged, as you can see in the elevations, proposed elevations on the right there. The feed silos and roof level flues and cowls would be removed. Some recladding is proposed, and changes to the fenestration in the east and west elevations is also proposed. And this is the proposed site layout. The hard surfacing around the existing building would be expanded to provide a total of 40 parking spaces, including 4 disabled parking spaces, as well as space for vehicle manoeuvre. Cycle parking, electric vehicle charging points and bin store areas are also proposed, and the existing track access to the west would be upgraded with a shared footway and cycleway for staff and visitors, and it would also be gated. And you can see towards the top left of that image, members, how that track will be connected, or it already exists, but it would be connected to the new spine road running east-west that Redrow are currently building. This final slide illustrates the work that has gone into addressing earlier highway concerns regarding access into and within the site. The applicant has demonstrated that a 18.5 metre long articulated vehicle would be able to access the site. Sufficient parking would be provided for the proposed uses. And members, this proposal is considered acceptable in almost every respect. The proposal would bring a currently empty building back into beneficial use. Employment floor space of the kind proposed is in demand in Kirklees, and there is some evidence that that demand is currently unmet within the borough. The applicant's agent has stated that although the development is speculative, around 30 to 40 full-time equivalent jobs could be accommodated within the proposed development, within the proposed converted building. The proposed uses are compatible with adjacent uses, subject to relevant conditions being imposed. The proposed changes to the appearance of the existing building are considered minor and acceptable. And as mentioned earlier, highway concerns have been addressed. Drainage matters have not been fully addressed yet, but could be addressed via submissions at condition stage. Similarly, biodiversity net gain could be addressed via conditions in this case, and it's noted that the site currently provides negligible suitability for bats. However, the proposal is considered problematic in that it involves a non-residential development at a site allocated for housing in the local plan. It is therefore a departure from adopted planning policy, and it's been advertised as such. The site allocation carries full weight. It's part of the adopted local plan. Within Kirklees, members will know that there's a finite supply of land that is suitable and allocated for housing. Such land and the opportunities it provides for meeting known housing need must not be squandered. Accordingly, where applicants initially proposed to underuse allocated housing sites, the council has negotiated increases in density, and on the rare occasion when an applicant has proposed a non-residential development at a site allocated for housing, the council rigorously assessed the viability and likelihood of housing development coming forward at that site before it was accepted that the alternative use was appropriate for that site, and before the council accepted the proposed departure in that case. Acceptance of underuse of sites or such departures increases the risk of further under-delivery of housing in Kirklees and would increase the likelihood of future pressure to approve housing at less appropriate or inappropriate sites, including in locations where sustainable development is less achievable. As explained in the committee report, housing delivery in the borough has fallen short of requirements. The council's inability to demonstrate a 5-year supply of housing land or to pass the housing delivery test weighs in favour of approving housing development throughout the borough, but it also weighs against approving non-residential development at sites allocated and suitable for housing. This application site could probably accommodate approximately 30 homes. The applicant's agent has argued that there's no realistic prospect of residential development being brought forward at the application site in the near future. However, this has not been evidenced and is not accepted. There are not known to be significant and insurmountable constraints that would prevent residential development at this site. Given the importance of housing delivery within Kirklees and the scarcity of land suitable for residential development, the proposed development's employment-related benefits, although notable, are not considered to carry sufficient weight to justify the proposed departure. The proposed development is contrary to the provisions of the local plan and would prejudice the council's ability to meet known housing need and to deliver the housing required during the lifetime of the local plan. The proposed development is contrary to local plan policy LP65 and the site allocation HS11. The departure from the local plan has not been justified by the applicant in officer's view, and it is therefore recommended that planning permission be refused on land use grounds for the single reason set out in the box text on the second page of the committee report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Victor. So we have two speakers. The first is Councillor Zarina Amin. Welcome to the meeting, Councillor. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I am speaking on behalf of Councillor Homewood, my colleague, who's requested this committee decide the application. I'm just going to reiterate the points that he's made. We are aware of the housing land allocation, but the current use is commercial, i.e. farming, and there are local amenities on site. We don't think it's in the interest of the community that the remainder of this site be used in housing. Just to add to that, it's a very small site, part of a larger housing allocation. We don't think a loss of potentially 30 houses is going to really be that big, considering the amenity space and what it does to serve the local community. The NPPF does actually support a prosperous rural economy, paragraph 88, sustainable growth and expansion of all types of business in rural areas, both through conversion of existing buildings and well-designed, beautiful new buildings. So that is supported by the NPPF. The LDF is actually currently under review. So there are potential grey belt sites, which are sites that are poor quality green belt, which would come forward, and they are actually being used as material planning considerations by other councils. So I don't think that a loss of 30 houses would really be that great, considering the amenity that it would offer local residents. And bearing in mind, there's a lot of housing going in that area. We do need the amenities there to serve that housing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Amin. The next speaker, Rachel Martin, the agent. Good afternoon, Miss Martin. Welcome to the meeting.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, members, for considering this application today and for the opportunity to speak. As your officer's report has detailed, a number of the benefits of the proposal as your officer's report has detailed, there are a number of benefits of the proposal before they have gone on to recommend refusal of the application. We consider the benefits weigh in favour of the scheme to support approval of the application. I will just take this time to summarise the benefits and some other points which we consider support the application. Firstly, the farm buildings and the application site were not promoted by the landowner as part of the local plan process. The farm holding was included in the allocation by the local plan inspector. The application building is an integral part of the farm holding, and there are no plans for the farm operation or the existing shop to cease in the near future. The council, as well as providing housing land, is obliged to provide employment land. As your officer has noted, there is a need for the proposed employment space. The existing farm shop as well provides 25 part-time jobs. The proposed change of use will deliver new employment units to meet the identified need and support new jobs in the area. The proposed use will provide a suitable use on the site and provide a transition between the existing farm holding and the Red Road residential development. The applicant incurred a financial loss associated with ceasing egg production on the site to ensure the delivery of the Red Row scheme. It is necessary for the applicant to reuse the building investment. As such, refusal of the application today will not deliver new housing on the site. There is no likelihood of piecemeal residential development of the site as part of the wider agricultural holding. The building, if the permission is refused today, the building will continue in agricultural use to support the farm business, and it will prevent the opportunity of new jobs on the site. The application will deliver sustainable economic development to support employment land needs, and we therefore urge members to approve the application and grant planning permission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Martin. So, to the committee, Councillor Thompson first, and then Councillor Pinnock, and then Councillor Sokol.
Thank you, Chair. I know this area fairly well, and I would say down that particular road there's an abundance of potential and housing development underway, and I'm not sure why another 13 properties will make the difference. That's really my only thought on the subject, apart from I'd like to move that we approve the planning of the existing plan that's in the document today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I think Mark is approving officer's recommendation, yes? It's been moved.
I think he means approve the application against the officer recommendation.
Is that right, Mark? Sorry. Apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify, Councillor Thompson's motion is to effectively move against the officer's recommendation. The reason I've come in at this point is because if that motion is seconded and goes through, you will be approving a planning consent unconditionally without any Section 106 obligations attached to it. And I just raise that because that may be an unintended consequence of the motion that's on the table.
In case.
Victor? Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just wanted to make a point about conditions. If committee are minded to approve this application, fine, you can do that. I'd just suggest that the decision include giving officers delegated authority to draft and apply conditions along the lines of those listed at paragraph 10.85 of the committee report, which basically bring together all the conditions that had been recommended by consultees. And just to clarify, no Section 106 agreement would be necessary in respect of an approval of this scheme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Victor. Councillor Pinnock next, and then Councillor Sokol. I've got you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. And with all that in mind, and thank you for the reminder about conditions. When I first saw this report, I mean, I know this site very well as well because I go past it every time I come into Huddersfield. It struck me that well, not to put too fine a point on it, I thought what a good application it was. Because it for all the reasons that have been mentioned, that include the owner of the property having to get rid of a business in that building because of the consequences of it impinging on the housing area. I am well aware of all the issues that have been mentioned in relation to housing, land supply and so on. But as has been mentioned, we also need business sites. And the only thing that stops me going completely overboard in favour of this site is, what do we do with the rest of the site within well, not within the red line, but the other part of the site in the same ownership? I just leave that hanging because it's a question as to whether you take that out of housing as well, or you then have that as available for housing site. I know what I think about that, but I'm keeping my counsel at the moment on that score. I am very willing to second this, along with the proposal that's been mentioned to delegate to officers to construct a set of conditions for this site, because I think in this case the benefits of having it as a business site outweigh the existing likely benefits as a housing site.
I think he is. Yeah. Just for clarity, Councillor Thompson, are you happy for... Okay, thank you. So, it's been moved and seconded against officer's recommendation by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Pinnock. Councillor Sokol, and then Councillor... against the officer recommendation. And then Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I accept this site has been allocated for housing in our local plan, but at the same time, we have some sites for the employment priority as well somewhere. But this, the application is just for the change of use from agriculture vacant building previously used for the production of eggs. Building will be divided into 4 units for the use of research and development industrial use, which won't create any much traffic around the area. Yeah. There will be 40 parking spaces. We have seen this morning when we were on the site visit, and there wasn't much parking on there. We were just trying to our mini coach to get through their area. So I'm happy the area will be improved as a parking area on there. And the extended forecourt and access gate will improve the building as well. As I've said other my colleagues, this proposed application will create some job, 40 to 50 jobs, which we need that in the area. Lastly, I know this shop, as Councillor Mark said, is well known. Yeah, I know this area very well, and this farm shop is well known in the local community, not only local community, other area, and it has been loved. They love this one. So there is no objection or any comment from the residents, and not many objection from our non-statutory. So I'm happy to No, they already moved and to approve the application. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Sokol. Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to second Councillor Thompson's proposal, but Councillor Pinnock already seconded it, so I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you. Matthias, do you want to...
Thank you, Chair. So, thank you, members. Can I just make sort of two sections? One, I'll sum up where I think you are, just so you understand the decision you're making, and then the mover and seconders, just to include the conditions that are in the report. And then just to say, firstly, I've listened to you attentively. I listened closely to our councillor and the agent for the applicant. It is a good scheme. It is, of course it is. It's just on land that you need to keep for housing. So I won't rehash the arguments that are in the report. It does come with consequences approving development on land you've identified for housing, because it puts you at greater pressure of developments elsewhere to meet your housing need, which you're not currently meeting anyway. But that being said, I think members of the committee have articulated that the benefits of reusing the site, the job creation, the opportunities for local people to access the employment that's here, and the benefits that it'll create in mixed communities rather than all housing in an area outweigh the harm to the development plan and the objectives of meeting your housing need in this instance. So that sort of seems to sum up your reason for going against the recommendation. In the report itself, Victor helpfully articulated a list of planning conditions should this eventuality arise, as it has. So in terms of your recommendation, Councillor Thompson, and seconded by Councillor Pinnock, if you want to, you could confirm that that recommendation includes the suggested planning conditions that are in the report, should you have been minded to approve it, which you are now. And so over to you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay, I don't think there's any further comments. I think we'll go to the vote. Sheila, thank you.
So I'll just quickly summarise. You're voting on approval. You'll be delegating approval and issue of the decision notice to the Head of Planning and Development in order to draft and apply appropriate conditions, including those set out in the report. And the committee is minded to approve the application for the reasons that Matthias just went through. You happy with that? Yeah. Councillor Sokol?
For.
Councillor Anwar?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
Councillor Thompson?
For.
Councillor Uller?
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you, everybody. That brings us to the end of our agenda and end of the meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.